508 Bowles Hall, right next to the chemistry lab, across from the biology lab. So more people have seen the biology lab than the chemistry lab. I don't know why that is. My degree's in chemistry, so I also teach chemistry around here, which is another great physical science. Astronomy, meteorology, chemistry, those are all physical science, basics. And then you get to biology, it's just also a science. So I'm one of those that if you're not going to be in class, it's kind of nice, just a quick note or a quick phone call. You can either give me details or no details, but you don't have to. But it's a thought, especially if I can help you out. If you are gone for class, it's going to be your responsibility to know what we covered. Sometimes students will be gone and they'll say, "What did we do?" And they get this blank look from me. So you might ask a friend or just be patient. I'll try to remember what it is that we did. Related to that, though, I'm going to show you how many people have used eCompanion in here. I like it. When you open eCompanion for this course, you'll see a column that is, it happens to be a Twitter feed. It's just Twitter's my way to push things out. But it's a column of basically what we did in this class. Okay? And so it's kind of nice. All right. So you guys get the new book. Okay. The problem or the reality of astronomy is it's always changing. Really? Was that Rex?
Yes.
Okay. The thing.
Stranger walking down the hall.
Yeah. Nice hair, right? The thing about astronomy is it keeps changing, and so I kind of can almost be okay with this new textbook. I really like this textbook. There is. We went with the essentials of cosmic perspective. There is a cosmic perspective that's even more complicated. This is pretty. This is all the pretty stuff. I take all the math out, which some people would say, how can you do that? Okay, so just the pretty stuff. So you'll need this textbook. If you're like me, one more thing about the textbook, I really like it. It is copyright 2015, and I'm like, dude, how'd you do that? You know what I'm saying? I know. So, and I don't know. And they keep coming up with, like I mentioned, new stuff in astronomy. When you get your textbook, I really like, I was reading over this yesterday, I really like what your author has done in the beginning, a little note to students how to do well with this textbook, and also just how to do well in general in classes. I just think he did a really good job. And any Neil deGrasse Tyson fans in here? Oh yeah. He's got a little bit of word in the front of this too. The other thing about your textbook, because sometimes I forget to mention it, is the appendix is awesome. You know, if you're always like, how far away is that thing? Or those planets, what's the difference between those planets? The appendix on this saying, you know, that's what it is. I like the textbook. All right, so strongly suggested, this resource, this lecture PowerPoint slides resource is going to be available to you from eCompanion. So what I would suggest you do is print it out, and I'll show you how to get to that. For Friday, we'll go ahead and we'll do some PowerPoint slides. Okay. All right. Anybody get Mastering Astronomy with your textbook? I kind of probably don't feel as strongly about Mastering Astronomy. It's a side product that goes along with.
I think I have, because I have the online textbook from Chegg.
Okay.
I think I have the option to purchase a subscription or something for it.
I probably wouldn't go that route. I'm not.
I haven't yet.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. They have so many like little games and stuff in this product online, a digital thing. So, but I kind of this semester is kind of steering away from it. So,
okay.
All right. So there about this course, you kind of see what we'll be covering. I mentioned I take the math out. Not all astronomy, introduction to astronomy teachers will do that. So we're at what we'll be covering. Okay, so there'll be 4 unit exams, and you can see here how it's broken out, the 4 units. The first unit has 4 chapters, and then the other units have, well, I guess 4 chapters, 4 chapters, 4 chapters, 4 chapters. You can kind of see. But if you look at the topics under the units, they are awesome topics. Okay, so we're going to hit a little bit of final grade, at the end of the syllabus, it kind of tells you where you get your points. But basically, we're gonna have chapter assignments, in-class quizzes, 4 labs. I'm gonna talk to you about the labs, and then, of course, your exams. And so I kind of at the end say how it's weighted. So far, so good? Okay. So lecture etiquette and attendance. So, let's see. I mentioned that you'll be able to print off your own slides, like you'll want to for Friday. And you'll see that on those slides, 6 slides per page, there's some blanks. And you may have run into this before where you have to find what the blank is. So with regard to etiquette, it's kind of the obvious, being on time, no texting, and that sort of thing, unless you have an emergency, which I know I do sometimes, so that's fine. I can tell a difference between a quick look at your phone and I'm glad you're okay sort of thing, to an ongoing conversation, so, keep that in mind. Okay, don't be late on a regular basis, okay? I have been known to lock the door, quite frankly, because if somebody who's 10, 20 minutes late every time, that's what I'm talking about. So if you're running late, please come. So I'll take attendance every day. If you come and, if you miss a day and something was due, the chapter assignment was due the day that you missed, you can just go ahead and keep that, okay? I'm gonna tell you how you can make up those points later, okay? But I don't accept a point, things late. Let's see, I said only on a case-by-case request will I accept late. So, all right, attendance, you'll wanna be here, you paid for it. Cheating, the standard thing, it breaks my heart when students cheat, okay, so don't do it. The biggest thing I run into cheating, and it's kind of an innocent sort of thing, is when you work with somebody to fill out your chapter assignment questions, and since you work with them, it looks like identical. So if you work with somebody, that's cool, but change it up a little bit. So, exams, there'll be 4 unit exams and a final exam. Now, I'll tell you closer to time the details when we get closer to an exam. But my exams are multiple choice, fill in the blank, and short answer, all in one little exam. And we'll do a review session before the exam. And the review sessions are outside of class, and if you come for the review sessions, you get extra credit. You get 10 extra credit points. Remember I said, if you aren't here to turn in the assignment, then you might as well keep the assignment. Well, for every review session you go to for an exam, that's 10 points, and your homework's worth 10 points, your assignment's worth 10 points. So, it's a thought. All right, so every teacher needs to grapple with what happens when life happens and you can't make it to the test. And so this is how I handle it. There are 4 unit exams, and the final exam I almost said May, the final exam in December, right? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is look at your 4 unit exams, and I'm gonna identify the lowest unit exam. I can't do this till you take your final. So your lowest unit exam, and it might be a 0. Okay, if you aren't there I don't give makeup exams, so if you aren't there for a test, it's a 0. I won't put it in the grade book because I hate zeros. But anyway, so then you have taken your final exam. And if your final exam is higher than your lowest unit exam, I make a substitution. Okay, so if that's a 0, then your final counts for your final. And a lot of times people do great on my finals. Okay, but your final will also go in and substitute for that low grade, which might be a 0. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say here. Okay. All right. Okay, so the top paragraph there is kind of a continuation of chapter assignments. So, of all the stuff I printed out, and I have it ready to go, and I think I uploaded it so you can print it down from e-companion after class if you want to. All the things I have printed off, I don't have your questions that are due. I don't have them, they're electronically uploaded. I'll bring a hard copy for you on Friday. But for each chapter, and there's 4 chapters in this first unit, there'll be questions at the end of the chapter for you to answer. Okay, and that's where I say you need to be unique. try to be unique. Okay, in-class quizzes, that's a deal where, kind of like it's described, it's open book, open notes, and there's a question either being projected or on the whiteboard that says, answer this question. So you take out a piece of paper and you can ask your friends, you can ask me to answer. Okay, but you get points, you get 5 points. Half an assignment. Okay, great. Okay, laboratory. I'm just going to kind of cover what it says here, and then we're going to get hot and heavy into it in just a minute. But you see the number 4. Sometimes I'll say, how many do you need? Because they're like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. How many do you need? Okay, okay, you need 4. Let's see. Yeah, notice you see the 8th week and the 14th week. What I've done is, even though you need 4, so listen up, even though you need 4, I've gone with 2 and 2. Okay, so the problem was everybody was doing 4 labs like the end of November. I'm like, no, don't do that. So do you see what you need by, and I have a date coming up. I think it's, well, I'm going to refer to my other paperwork that's coming up. You need to have 2 labs done earlier, at least 2 labs. And then you can do the other 2 labs later for total 4. You can have all 4 labs done by the 7th week, or excuse me, the 8th week, that's cool. But you can't dilly-dally. If that 8th week comes and goes and you only have 1 lab, okay, then the next you can only, you max out it, you can only get 2 more labs in that second segment. Does that make sense? You've got to have 2 labs there. Now, before you've got to describe your labs. Okay, here it talks about, this paragraph right here, it talks about 2 types of labs, scheduled class activities, 1 type of lab, and what I call at-large viewing exercises. 2 types of labs. It's like going to a cafeteria, and if you're a vegetarian, you head to the salad bar, and if you're like me, herbivore or carnivore, who's the one omnivore? You go to the meat and the. So I'm going to show you these 2 types, but you only need 4. It's not like you need 4 this kind and 4 that kind. A lot of times that's a good question people ask. You can have 2 and 2 or 1 and 3. All right, so the word early, okay, November can get kind of cold. Okay, so don't leave your labs till late. Down here, the word EC, or the letters EC, stand for extra credit. Okay, I mentioned you get extra credit if you come to review session. You can also get extra credit if you do more than 4 labs. Okay. Anytime you earn extra credit in here, it can only go towards assignment points and quiz points, 10 and 5 respectively. It can't go for exam. I know, students have asked. Okay. So momentarily, I'm going to take you out, before we do the lab component, I want to take you out to eCompanion. I know it sounds like some of you guys have definitely used that. Special needs throughout the semester, if there's something that if I knew about you, it would make it a better experience, let me know. Okay, special needs, kind of a small class, that should work fine. Here is the breakdown of where you get your points in here. Okay, those collectively, those questions that you're going to answer for each chapter are 5th or 20% of your grade. Quizzes are 10%. Your 4 lab exercises collectively are 15% of your overall course grade. Each unit exam is 10%, so collectively they're 40%. And your final in December is 15% of your grade. Any questions yet?
So there is no midterm
There's no
exam?
midterm, right. Yep. And then, kind of the standard, the percentage there is on the left and the grade you earn there is on the right. Back under attendance, I used the word in quotes, the words in quotes, benefit of the doubt. So honestly, this is where, like if your attendance is great, your attitude's great, and you're borderline. That's what I mean by benefit of the doubt. So let's just say you earn, let's say you're sitting at an 88%. Okay, so I could go here and an 88% is a B+. But if your attendance is good and your attitude's great, I will go up to the A minus. All teachers do it, I just say it. Okay. The other thing though is if it's been a rough semester for you, attendance-wise, attitude-wise, things happen, and you get an 88%, you will definitely get the B plus. I don't like go down. Okay? Okay, any questions? Okay. So like I said, I know a lot of you, so let's take a look at this. So these are the things you can do on your own, okay? A lot of the other things I'm going to show you, you have to be a certain place at a certain time. That's why I call them scheduled, the other type, the other part of the salad bar. So Constellations Lab, let me go ahead and hand out, dun dun dun. Somebody brought that to me. Give you, I told you some, but they're all so cool. The Constellations Lab refers to a sky map, and this is one of my favorite sky maps. You guys notice that the stars change, you know, throughout the year and stuff. And so you need a timely sky map. This is for August. It's for August 15th, which is kind of long, that's okay. But, you know, ballpark. So the address for this is, and it's plural, skymaps.com. So each month, if I forget to hand one of these out to you, which sometimes I do, then you can get your own. So this is called the Constellations Lab. You can do it on your own. And all of these labs, whether you do them on your own or that you come to a certain place at a certain time, you can bring friends and family. Okay, it's not like you have to go in seclusion and do this. Okay, one thing about this sky map, and all astronomy maps of the sky do this, if you look at it like this, it doesn't make sense. Okay, if you look at it like this, you're like, oh, I see north and south, okay, but I'm used to seeing east over here on the right, and it says west. Like, oh my gosh, can't they get this right? But it's meant to be held overhead. So if you hold it overhead, and that way's, wait, is that way Burlington, right? Okay, good. This way's Burlington, okay, Hamilton, and the sun will appear to rise. It's because we're twisting, right? We're rotating. But the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So if you hold it overhead, it works. Just a thought. The other thing about the sky maps, and you know, they make sense. They're really cool. The bigger the dot, the brighter the star. We'll talk about what we call magnitudes of stars. How do you say how bright a star is? You're like, I don't know. Well, they got a system. The other thing about sky maps is they have, you know, those kind of, you could call them wispy things, but kind of the things that aren't stars that are cool to see in the nighttime sky. They fall into categories, and they're kind of over here. And we'll be talking about some of those on Friday. So for instance, a galaxy, okay, and it kind of has that symbol. The double star, variable star, the types of nebula, the two types of clusters, globular and open. So they have like a little key here that's on this. This little key you see here is like standard. It's like universal. I bet aliens use this key. I'm just saying. Could be. So, I'm not going to belabor it because I hope it's kind of self-explanatory. I don't know. Sometimes, I guess with this one, students will say, well, how many constellations do I need to see? And I say, see as many as possible. The Big Dipper, how many people see the Big Dipper there? Okay, so that counts. But we're going to see it starts with the letter A, asterism. We're going to see that that is not a constellation. That's actually a subset of stars in Ursa Major. So that's an asterism. But that counts. Mark it. And when students ask how many, I usually say, I don't know, 2 or 3. Okay. The other thing to get full credit, sometimes I have to kick it back to students, or if it's the end of the time they need to turn in, I got to dock them. Make sure that you include your name, where you observed, and approximately where you observed and when. Okay. Any questions about that? How are we doing? I think we're doing okay. All right, so 2 through 4. Oh my goodness. See, the deal here is this is very different than your first opportunity, because although you can do it by yourself, okay? You need something, okay? And some of you may already have a telescope, and I look forward to hearing your viewing stories, okay? This one, you have to have a telescope or know someone that has a telescope. Those are kind of fun too. It's like party at your house, okay? So I showed you the sky map a minute ago of in the morning. Oh gosh, I don't know if it's 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., but about sunrise, before the sun rises. Actually, just right before the sun rises, you'll see those two planets I showed you, Jupiter and Venus, okay, kind of close together. So you can look at a planet of your choice with your own telescope and write it up. Now notice the documentation here that I need. You need, again, where and when, and you need to say, sometimes students don't get this other description about the telescope. Just kind of describe the telescope. Sometimes you're like, I don't know, it's black, okay? Well, write it down. We'll be talking more about telescopes and the two main types of telescopes. Okay, any questions about that? Okay. Some semesters, planets are usually pretty good in the fall right now. So you guys are going to be just fine if that's what you want to do. Now there's two moon things, okay? This moon thing, you can use a telescope, which, oh my gosh, the moon looks awesome through a telescope. Or you can use binoculars for this, item number 5. You can use binoculars. The moon looks awesome through binoculars too, okay? So notice here the big difference is I want to sketch. Okay, need to sketch and a paragraph of what you saw, the moon. I have some awesome sketches, then I have some sketches I'm like, oh, really? I could do better than that. But you'll be fine, just turn something in. You know, I hate to say just turn something in. Are there any questions? Okay, those are all you can do by yourself. All right, meteor shower. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, I look forward to hearing your stories maybe about meteors that you've seen. Meteors are those sometimes they're called falling stars. But the thing I like to tell, especially little kids, is if you were to backtrack to where that falling star came from, there's no star there, okay? So what a meteor is, or a falling star is, basically the Earth is pushing through, you know, it's orbiting the sun, and it's pushing through, well, if it's a shower, a debris field, actually. Little chunks that's flying through the Earth's atmosphere and lighting up, okay? So they're just a flash. Meteor showers, the thing about a meteor shower is the moon is bad. If the moon is very visible, pushing full moon, okay, so we'll kind of stay in touch about that throughout the semester to see if any of these are going to be good. The Perseids are really famous in August 13th or so. It's a meteor shower where the Earth is passing through comet debris. And this August, though, the moon was pretty full. I did have some friends see some good ones. Now, if this is what you're going to do, if this is your activity, notice I think I put, let's see, how many did I say? 3? It wasn't too bad. Count these. I thought I said, you see a number in there? 5. Okay, 5. Sometimes I've taken 3, especially for those hardcore students like, dude, I was out there for 2 hours and I saw 3. I'm like, write it up, okay? But even if we're not passing through comet debris, you should see a meteor fall like once every 10 minutes, but who has that patience, right? Planetarium, and I just kind of mentioned a couple of them, I guess I don't. The difference between an observatory, oh, I brought a picture. I'm going to be handing these out too. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see that little, okay, observatory has a telescope, a planetarium doesn't, okay? So planetariums you can go to in the daytime, and they're the ones like the IMAX theater planetariums, okay? So, oh yeah, I did mention the Adler in Chicago. There's one in Des Moines, and St. Louis has a nice planetarium. You're like, gosh, I have to go there and get lab credit. I'm like, take your family. Okay, I know. What's that?
It's a good weekend vacation.
Yeah, really. Take the train. This last one I have handouts for. I said there's 2 moon things, and this is the second of the 2 moon things. I have a couple handouts for you. So for the moon thing, you need a moon journal. And notice there's a spot to write down for 28 days. So basically, I want you to go find the moon for 28 days. And I've got a sheet to kind of give you some hints on when to go look for the moon.
Harry's getting a workout.
I know.
Actually, there's some hints on the back. Because sometimes students, and this is a fun one, if I was a student, I might would do this one. Sometimes, the biggest thing is students have a hard time of knowing, and we'll be talking about how do you know where the moon is, but it's actually just related to its phase most closely. Flip over that table I gave you. You'll see kind of some ideas of why I'm having you do this moon journal. And where it says hints, those are when you go out and look for the moon. Now, with that said, I have had students turn this in that basically, there's a lot of these under comments or something, I couldn't find the moon. I could not find the moon. And there's a good reason for that. Yeah, for instance, if it's a new one, you can't find the moon. Yeah, exactly. But the other thing is, like, if it's for instance, if you look under my hints, if it is a new to a first quarter, okay, it's going to rise relatively early and set relatively early. So the deal, if it's in that phase, kind of past new on its way to first quarter, if you go out, for instance, and look at the moon at 10 p.m., 11 p.m., you're not going to find it because it will already have what we say set. Okay, so I've had, we'll talk more about that. The other thing, I'm excited that I've given this out before, I'm going to give it out again. To help you, if you choose to do this, is these are moon rise and set times. They're in military time, though, so like 1 p.m. is what, 1300? Yeah. Okay, so that's a possibility. Technique up to. Thanks. So, for instance, can somebody look and see, today is the 20th, right? So when does the moon rise?
1:01 a.m.
Around 1 a.m.? Thank you. And when does it set? Should be about 12 hours later.
4:41 a.m.
I'll buy that. Kind of makes my eyes go buggy. Okay. But you find the August column, which here's the August column, and then you find the, what did I say, the 20th, and you see where they cross. Yeah. So it's, yeah, it's about 2, right here. This is where they cross. So this is 13 minutes after midnight. And then this would be about almost 3 p.m. Is that right?
14 is 2.
So right now, we should be able to go see the moon. Right? I know it's cloudy. But the moon, that's one of the things that we don't always appreciate, is the moon is up during the day. So there's that. Okay. And we'll be talking more about that. All right. If you are of the other mind, here is a handout that explains your other opportunities. So those are all things you can do on your own. These are things you need to be a certain place at a certain time. I used to start out with these scheduled labs, and the students are like, I can't make that. And they start freaking out. I'm like, just you have things you can do on your own. Okay. So these, you have to be a certain place at a certain time. And I use the word host. That actually the first opportunities listed are labs that I host. And then the other set are labs that somebody else hosts, but they're scheduled. Okay, so that second paragraph that says 2 dates are listed, okay. This second paragraph, I need to list 2 dates for the labs that I host because the weather doesn't always cooperate. Okay, so like for instance, if you go ahead and turn the page, you'll see a list of 4 different things that I do. I get the telescopes out and I do for students or with students. Okay, there's always 2 dates. The first date is what I call a primary date, and that's the one I'm hoping for. But if it falls through, I fall back, or we fall back on our secondary date. Okay. If the first one goes through, the second one is scrubbed. Does that make sense? Now, there's been some semesters where both. And I usually tell students, we kind of all watch the weather if we're gonna, do this, something's coming up. If it's looking bad, I usually say that secondary date, and probably say it here, is a go regardless. So if the first one was scrubbed, the second one goes no matter what. And we'll do something other than looking at stars. Okay, for lab activity. Okay? All right, so since you guys need to know, inquiring minds need to know if it's gonna go or not, the method I use is down here, this third paragraph. If you're like, I don't know if it's gonna go or not, well, go ahead and listen to my outgoing message. Okay. Now, the other thing, and I guess I need to update my information for this. So I'll change my outgoing message to say the lab is canceled, or change my outgoing message to say the lab is a go. I need to update this because honestly, the best thing I do is I send out an email to your SCC Iowa email, and I say it's a go or it's canceled. Okay, any questions about that? And I think I say at least 2 hours ahead of time. All right. So, on the other types of labs we talked about, the ones you do on your own, each thing you have to, each different one, you have a different requirement to get lab credit for. For all of these, if you want to get full lab credit, you only do that last paragraph on the first page. If you want to get lab credit for something, one of these scheduled labs, you just got to write up a paragraph or 2 about what you saw. All right? Okay. Now, I really should move that morning viewing later because that's usually where students are like, I'm not coming to any lab she has. She's crazy.
Yeah, kind of what I was thinking.
Honestly, right. But these.
Sure, to have to drive up the road.
I know. But I've had some students that have really enjoyed going up there. And if you open up this brochure, you'll see the different telescopes we have up there. I say we because this observatory is run by volunteers that are members of the astronomy club, geeks that we are, and maybe you are too. Okay. So when it says Whitty Observatory Complex, that's what this pamphlet is. So what I'll get out, see where it says 12-inch Clark refractor? That's the one I'll get out that morning or that evening. So you see a primary date and a secondary date. Any questions? Okay. The other 2, I do, the other 3 are here at the Etiquette campus. So if you're kind of jotting down things, you're like, I'll do that, I won't do that, X through the A lab, right? These are right here at the Etiquette campus. Okay, we're going to have a deep sky where the moon is not full or anything. Then we're going to have about a quarter moon because that's the best time to look at the moon. That doesn't blind you through your telescope. And then we're going to have a sun lab. Okay, you see 2 dates for all 3 of those. I'm going to give you a map here in a minute, but you guys see the parking lot? Okay, and then is that Hawthorne over there? Okay, good. So between us and Hawthorne is a green patchy area and some deer. Okay, so right up there is where we'll set up telescopes. Okay, so these 3. Any questions about those? Okay. A lot of times students will only go to my labs, and then if they like these 3, because transportation to Burlington is hard for a lot of students. If they like these 3, then they just have to come up with something else, which is Constellations lab. A lot of times they like the Constellations lab. The things that I don't host fall into this category. So the brochure I gave you, actually it says it in here, but you forget. But this place is open, like, open to the public, Fridays, 2 Fridays a month. So first and third Friday, if the weather is clear. First and third Friday. I'll try to remind you. So, and it opens about when the sun sets and closes a couple hours after that. Or, I don't know, some of these people are out there till like 1 a.m. So, but you can at least count on a couple hours. The last one is, and the last one is actually Cedar Rapids area. It's like between Iowa City and Cedar Rapids. You're like, dude, I'm so not doing that. But I've had people be very excited about going to these. I'm thinking about going to this Dr. Garnett one, middle of September. It's on a Saturday. Dr. Garnett was, I don't know if you know Dr. Ed Stone. Hey, they were like buddies. But anyway, have you heard the two Voyager missions and leaving the safety of our solar system? Yeah. Okay, so he's going to talk about that. So I'm thinking about, we've been up once. Related to that is our directions. So this is directions. Basically, the Whitty Observatory is you take Highway 61, and if you get to Minneapolis, you've gone too far. So. I think we're getting about it. See what I mean? Oh, see, I forgot I wrote this, but like, see this full paragraph here? It basically says if you go to that Cedar Rapids one, if you go for the speaker and look through the telescopes, then you get 2 of your 4. That's halfway out. Their telescopes though, I'm just saying, our astronomy club, it's hard to beat our telescopes. They have some nice ones, but, okay. Does anybody have any questions right now? Okay, if you don't have any questions, you're free to go. And if you have any questions between now and Friday, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you then.